Hello again, everyone. Here's another video on the channel. Thanks for dropping by, checking out the channel. I'm going to cover a topic, and I'm going to be able to take these off now because I'm facing the right way. I'm on a long ride out to Phoenix. I'm going to be covering tariffs today, but before I do, really appreciate you taking the time. This video is going to be a little bit longer than usual. This is also my second go around. If you noticed that my microphones are off because batteries died and I didn't bring a charger. So we're going to do it live. We're going to do it, well, I'm going to record it live with no microphones, hopefully one additional shot here to get all through this, but I'm going to talk about tariffs. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about Phoenix. I'm heading out to Phoenix and dealing with driving today and carrying some stuff out that way. But I want to make mention that I'm going to be in Phoenix at a meetup next week. I think it's the 13th. I will try to put that a link in the description. I'll put it in my Telegram as well. I'll be out there. It's in the Tempe, the suburb of Phoenix. I'm still learning Arizona. Bear with me. But I'm heading out to Phoenix. I'm going to be there for a meetup. My first crypto meetup for a little while. Looking forward to it. And I know there's another one in Tucson. I'll probably be visiting that one soon. I'll definitely, my intention is to be at Bitcoin 2025 in Vegas, which is about, 9-10 months from now. But while I can get to certain things on the West Coast, I'm going to. So here we go. We're going to be in Phoenix next week. Hope to see you there in the Tempe, Arizona. If you are there and see me, please say hi. I don't know if it's going to be 10 people, 100 people. I have no idea. I'm going to guess somewhere between 10 and 100, but we'll see. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about tariffs, and this is going to be my second go around with this, so I'm going to try to be complete and thorough, get in the middle lane here, just cruise as I talk to you guys. First crack at this, like I said, my microphone's died. It took me about 20 minutes to get through it, but I want to go over what are tariffs, why is it important, how have they been a big part of the United States and the history of the United States, why it's important to bring them back, all those things. Oh, why they're a benefit to most people, and explain it all. So first off, a lot of people that throw things at tariffs and say, oh, we can't just charge things from China and double the price or whatever. It's not quite how it works. So first off, let me get a quick drink. Thank you again. Please, get a little drink here. And Arizona iced tea. Looking for a sponsorship. Anyway, tariffs. I got some notes here. I'm going to try and do this live and try to do it without touching on the notes too much because they distracted me a lot the first time around. So I'm going to try and just roll through it. Okay, could you get a little more close to me? But anyway, all right, Arizona drivers, still learning them. Interesting. Roads are a little iffy here too, but anyway, the desert doesn't number on the roads. Okay, there's nothing from here between here and Phoenix, so it should be a nice easy cruise as I chat to you about tariffs. What are tariffs? Tariffs are basically a directed tax on imports. That's all it really is. And they're very easy to collect, or they're one of the most easiest tariffs, fees, taxes to collect because you get them at ports of entry. You get them at airports, seaports, and border crossings. That's pretty much it. So in order for you to get your stuff out of those ports or across those borders, you have to pay the fee. Now, in some parts of the world, they call them value-added tax, or we're not going to go there. That's a European thing, but think about it. What is the point of the tariffs, and why does it benefit? First off, it protects certain industries. So if you have young industries, you can target certain goods from other countries that might be at a cheaper price. But if you're trying to grow that industry domestically, you could charge more for the imports thanks to the tariff. So for example, let's say that, and I can make, we outsource computer chip manufacturing. That's one industry we did in recent years. So let's say that we want to start making the chips for an iPhone domestically, which I think we do. And we had problems with the auto industry and certain chips. The chip production all went over to Asia, and not just to China, but also like Vietnam. I was trying to say that right, Jeff. Vietnam, Korea, Thailand, South Korea, Southeast Asia, really, Malaysia. They really upped their chip production. Taiwan. So, and then we used to be really good at it. You remember Texas Instruments, but we outsourced it. So now we're trying to insource it. build that industry up again here, but we're at a competitive disadvantage because when you start something anew or again, it's costly. The cost to spin things up, there's a lot to build the infrastructure to make those things again. So let's just say, I'm gonna make it real easy. The chip, let's just say that the chip that runs your iPhone, you're probably watching this on now. Thank you again for spending the time here. But let's just say that that chip costs $1 to make in China. Okay, I mean it's $1.50 in South Korea, whatever. It'll cost $10 to make in Arizona because they're building a new chip plant here in the greater Arizona area. I don't know what town it is, but I'm going to say, well, it might be Glendale. I don't know. It might be Chandler. Anyway, some suburb of Phoenix. So if it costs $10 to make the chip here and you can get it from China for $1, why would you buy it from the United States? Well, what you could do is put a $9 tariff on the one from China. Now it's competitive. And now the U.S., when it gets to be below $10, now you're actually better, and you're going to be buying your company. If you're the company that makes the phone or assembles it, you use that supply chain from the U.S., which is going to be more dependable than that shipping from overseas and paying that tariff and that delay and that timeline. It'll be easier to deal with domestically than for international import. So now you've improved your infrastructure of your country. You've kept the income and the funds at home domestically, and now you get that, say, that made in the U.S. kind of label gets put on there too. So all those things help a domestic industry, especially when that's growing. So imagine Bitcoin mining goes this path. Now most of your Bitcoin miners come from China, a company called Bitmain, right? Ant miners come from Bitmain, and they pretty much own or dominate the market, right? That's where everything comes from. If you don't know, they run them for 6 months before you even see them, and they pre-mine, or they mine Bitcoin with the faster miners with a higher hash rate before you even get to touch them. So they have a competitive advantage, and you're basically you're buying burnt in or warmed up units. It's a competitive disadvantage to every country but China for Bitcoin mining. How you compete with that is you put a tariff on the Bitcoin miners that come out of China, and say, you know what, it may cost $2,000 to make it domestically, and it costs $1,500 in China, but we're going to put a $500 tariff on there to make it. We'll put a $1,000 tariff on there to raise that price to $2,500. Now anybody that can make it for $2,100 or less in the U.S. has a competitive advantage. So that's how you improve and protect the domestic industry. Now you can also target it much easier because not only is it against one particular industry, it's against one item in one industry in one country. Very, very pointed taxes or incomes, and none of it comes from a domestic user. So your civilians, your people that live in your country aren't really paying for this tariff. So if I wanted to go buy an ant miner, I would buy one for, I don't know what the price is. I'm just making this up. Let's say I buy it from China for $1,500. I pay the shipping, the fees. I mean, I get to $1,800 landed. But if there's a company that starts building it for $2,200 in the U.S. and now they put a $500 tariff on the Chinese one from Bitmain, ant miner, I do that all the time. Now that's $2,200 U.S. versus $2,300 China. Yes, my price went up 20%, but it didn't go up by the amount of the tariff. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but now the tariff will start to come down when the U.S. more is going to be bought from the U.S. the company that makes them. Say it be ABC Electronics. So ABC Electronics sells their, I pick a shorter name, Mining USA. Mining USA makes these miners, and I buy them for $2,000 instead of the $2,200 from China. I'm paying $200 more because I used to buy it for $1,800, but I'm supporting US, and now Mining USA starts getting economies of scale, and they start making more for less, but they're able to sell more for less and make a better profit because now everybody's buying from Mining USA instead of Bitmain and ant miners. See what I did there? Everybody wins, right? The tariff actually made it so that everybody domestically wins. The only loser there is China. Now, This could be done for any new industry that they want to protect. Now, it could be AI, it could be chip industry, it could be iPhone industry, it could be
police reported ahead.
Okay, police reported ahead. All right, so I guess I'll watch my speed. Little cruise control here. So that's what tariffs can do. Now, the history of the tariffs are very interesting, and I'm sorry I don't have time to chapterize this, but originally, like from 1789 to 1860, the early days of the United States, from when the Constitution started through two central banks, 80 to 95% of the U.S. revenue for the federal government. Police reported ahead. You told me that already. Thank you. He's right there. Okay, there he is. Fortunately, I wasn't going too fast. All right, 80 to 95% of the U.S. federal income between 1789 and 1860 came from tariffs, which means you didn't have an income tax, you didn't have a Federal Reserve yet. That's the third central bank. You didn't have all these extra taxes that were trying to get more revenue for the income for the federal government. You didn't need it. Tariffs were all you needed, right? If you needed more income, you raised tariffs, or you sold bonds for a war effort, and that's what they did. Or they raised the tariff. They did both those things for the War of 1812. Now, they also issued different currencies. Lincoln tried to issue the greenback in 1860. That got him shot. We're going to go there. But everything changed in 1913. The first two central banks, okay? The first two central banks from 20-year charters. 1789 lasted to 1809. When that expired, they realized that didn't work out so good, so they were going to try to do other things, get back to more tariffs, and then the British tried to put up a blockade, led to the War of 1812. And then they launched another central bank in 1812, which lasted another 20 years to 1832, and Andrew Jackson said no more, we got rid of that, and then the U.S. was prosperous, thanks to tariffs, but there was a disparity between the North and the South. Now, a lot of people think that the Civil War was about civil rights issues. It was actually an economic war, as most wars are. There's a great film floating around. I'll try to find a copy if you ask me for it. But it's that all wars are bankers' wars. That's a great documentary. I just watched it. It was a great 45-minute video. It's on, I think I retweeted it on Twitter. If you wanted it, I could probably find it, let me know. But all wars are, pretty much all wars are bankers' wars. So the Civil War was a banking war. The reason it was an economic war was that the North was industrialized, okay? They were getting more and more industrialized. Now, they still had issues with, clothing and getting the machines to make textiles, because Britain was dominating that. They would not export that technology because that was their secret sauce. It was so much ingrained to them that they didn't want to get into the United States. They did not even allow anyone who had worked or knew how those machines worked to go to the United States. So that was the restriction. So they did not want that industry, and they forced, when they were colonies, when the U.S. was, back in the colonial days, they forced everybody to buy the textiles from Great Britain. So that was like a little pocket industry that they had. So the U.S. was tired of that. They did not want to be reliant on Britain. They wanted to be independent. It was a nationalistic effort. Tariffs promote nationalism, domestic production, because you're protecting your borders and what comes in and out through imports and exports. So back to the Civil War. Fast forwarding to the Civil War period, the North was starting to develop their textiles, their industry, their industrialization. It was the Industrial Revolution was starting, but the South was exporting their raw goods, their cotton and their wheat and their other products, their other agricultural reserves, but they couldn't buy the cheap goods that were made in Britain because there were blockades from the North and there were tariffs. So the South was upset at the North because they were causing inflationary pricing, because the North wanted to put tariffs on the stuff that the South wanted to buy for cheaper. So you had the disparity. So during the Civil War, the North crushed the South by just cutting them off, both with blockades and tariffs, that they couldn't get any income to the South. That pretty much led to the end of the war. But after after 1865, when the Civil War was over, there was a period called Reconstruction, which was the most prolific economy in the history of the United States. There was no central bank. It was deflationary because they were making machines that made things easier and made things easier to get, made life easier for Americans, and people were benefiting while the wages basically stayed the same. The cost of goods went down, so it was deflationary, and everybody was prospering because tariffs were doing their thing as you would want them to do, and
police reported ahead.
With the Industrial Revolution, the cost of manufacturing was going down. So the U.S. was becoming a big manufacturing country in addition to an agricultural country. So we were basically becoming a very self-sustaining country. So internationally, the bankers didn't like this. So when they got the opportunity after the turn of the century, between 1909 and 1913, they plotted at Jekyll Island to launch the third central bank. That was the Federal Reserve, and at the same time they launched the income tax. They launched the new Federal Reserve note, or what they now call the dollar, but it's the Federal Reserve note. It's a debt instrument. And with that, and the income tax, and the downplaying of tariffs, and they launched the philosophy of globalization, fair trade, and just a world-based economy. Well, that sucked the U.S. into several world wars, several conflicts, all the way up until Bretton Woods. Now, Bretton Woods, Europe was just completely devastated with their economy. Germany had gone through inflationary. The Weimar Republic happened. Everybody went off the gold standard, but the U.S., at least they had their own issues. Yes, they confiscated gold in 1933, but the best economy at the end of World War II, and the best country as far as having the ability to protect themselves, the best country that was manufacturing. The U.S. is in the best footing anywhere on the planet. So they got to pretty much win at Bretton Woods in 1944 when the U.S. was made the dollar reserve. And then again, fair trade agreements, tariffs were downplayed. And then after 20 or 30 years, with pushing the dollar all over the globe, the U.S. went off the gold reserve because they couldn't afford it. So, but tariffs were downplayed the entire time since 1913 as the dollar and the petrodollar first the dollar system took root in the 1940s after Bretton Woods, and then the petrodollar took root after the 1970s after Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971. So long story short, tariffs used to be the way. It used to be very directed, pointed thing. Now I'm going to go back to my notes just to make sure I don't miss anything. I've been talking for nearly 20 minutes twice here. So again, thank you for staying with me, staying to the end. Give me a hashtag Tempe, TEMPE. That's where I'm going to be, I believe, on the 13th for a Bitcoin meetup. If you're in the area, please let me know. If you want a link, let me know. It's free to go. And I'm probably going to shoot a video there while I'm there just because I can. And so all right, I got my notes. Let me wrap this up. The video's getting long. I appreciate you spending the time here. If you like this kind of content, please share it. I'd like to get my voice out there. I want to. This is not an egotistical thing. I just want people, if they agree. First off, hear my voice that's shouting in the nothingness that I'm recording to myself in the car for the second time. Hopefully, this reaches somebody that it adds value to their lives, and they can share it with someone else, and it grows. That's all I'm trying to do, and it help other people realize you're not alone. You're not alone in saying, what the heck's going on? Why don't I know more? What am I missing? Hopefully my ability to connect some dots for you and help you out, and hopefully I explain it in a way that you can understand it, helps you out. So I'm going to summarize tariffs one last time, and then I'll call it a day. Tariffs, what are their benefits? They help small, fledgling, brand new industries because countries can protect imports and competitors from other nations against those industries. Again, let's go back to, I don't think I did this example in this video, but let's say that Toyotas are made $30,000 this is an example, okay? Toyota makes a car for 30 grand and it costs $60,000 for Ford to make a similar car, or a brand new car company. I was like Jeff Cars Incorporated cost me 60 grand to make the same car domestically. Now, I could do a couple things. First, if I could put 100% tariff on the Toyota coming across to bring it to 60,000, so I'm competitive, or even raise the tariff a little bit more and make that 65, so I'm actually at an advantage. That's one option, and that's that is a brute force tariff method. Another option is that it will encourage me to only import the items I need to build that car domestically. So let's say there's a chip that I need. I don't have the production here. We've been through this. I can't get the chip, but it's a $10 chip if I buy it from China. I'm sorry, it's $10 if I buy it. $10 if I make it domestically, and it's really painful to do that. Or I can spend $2. There's an $8 tariff. Fine, I'll spend the tariff and I'll spend the extra fee because I don't have the infrastructure to get the $10 chip. I'd rather spend the $10 on that chip and build the rest of the car domestically here for $31,000 than have to, or I'd rather build a car domestically for like $35,000, $40,000 by importing only the key goods that I need versus importing the entire car and have to pay 60 grand on the entire finished good. So just something to think about there. So that's going to help out by you're going to target, most of the consumers are not going to pay 20% in the finished good. They're going to pay on 20% on the components that go in the finished product, and that won't be as impactful as far as your bottom line. So you may pay $8 more for your iPhone because the chip that goes inside, but all the other capacitors and boards and stuff that go inside and the screen can all be made domestically, so it's not as big of an impact. Now, back to tariffs. They can be targeted to certain countries, industries, products, and so on. They can be on a Bitcoin miner, or a chip that goes on a Bitcoin miner, or a certain capacitor that goes on a board that goes on the Bitcoin miner. Things that you can't get domestically, but if you really want to use that product, you have to pay extra for, and that's targeted on. So if I want to buy something else from China, a computer, I want a laptop from China. I'm not saying I'm going to, but let's say I want to buy just a laptop or a video card or something else from China. I can, because it's not a Bitcoin miner that gets tariffed or taxed. Now, it's easier to enforce and collect because it's at ports of entry. So you just enforce, rather than having a whole bunch of IRS agents, you have enforce at your ports of entry, your airports, your seaports, and your border crossings, and make sure that those taxes get paid. So it's easy to enforce and collect. It's a push. So it's a push to remove price increases on certain imports, and it emphasizes a nationalistic output, domestic production, make it in the U.S., and protect innovative industries. So again, tariffs are very directed. It used to be almost all of the income, and now that the federal government has tried to just balloon, and that's not really what your taxes go for anyway. That's an entirely different video, but that's the point of tariffs. They're very directed, very pointed, and it can be in specific industries to help out comparable industries as they begin to grow domestically and make us a manufacturing power again, which we have not been for the last 30 or 40 years because we pushed everything overseas because our labor rates got too high. So hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully this is of value to you. If I explained it well, please let me know. If I didn't, let me know that too. I read every comment. Leave me a hashtag Tempe. Hope to see you there next week. And I'm going to get another drink now and try to recover from these 45 minutes of talking straight to myself. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.